Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Warm greetings to Facebook buddies, friends, and family. Thank you for taking the time to jump on the internet and connect with me during this webinar. I want to say a very special thank you to Brandon and Jane, who took the time to set everything up on the internet so that this could happen today. I'm excited. So excited for the opportunity to speak with you today, even though we're not in the same place. But we thank the Lord for the opportunity to get onto the internet and media platforms and social media platforms that can help us connect despite the fact that we are not in one locality. But over and above the connection, why? I'm particularly excited about the subject of leadership. We're all on a journey of growth. And you've heard me say before, I've attributed this quotation to John Maxwell. It could be before him or it could be him, but everything rises and falls on leadership. You cannot run a healthy home without quality leadership. You cannot run a very successful business without quality leadership, or lead an effective organization, or shepherd a growing church. All these and many others that I have not mentioned. The foundation or the cornerstone of that system working well is quality leadership. I look at my own leadership life journey and I can remember a number of years back sitting with my head in my hands and I'm asking this question: if only I had mentorship, if only I had been groomed as a leader, would I have made the mistakes or the mistake then that I had made? I believe every one of you that are watching, if you look back at your own experience, I would guarantee that you've had some leadership failures. If you gave leadership to a group of people, whether it's a small group, whether it's a business, whether it's a large company, whether you're an MD or CEO or COO, somewhere in your leadership journey, you have made some mistakes. What better opportunity, I should say, for us to glean from somebody who has gone down the road ahead of us, made the mistakes through trial and error, and now has rectified them and captured them in a book. And I'm going to be referring to John Maxwell's Leadership Gold. John Maxwell wrote this book when he was 60 years old. He delayed the writing of the book because he felt that he wanted to capture all his life's learnings of leadership at the time when he had reached a place of being much more mature in his leadership journey. At 60 years old, the year's 2007, and he's had 40 years of experience, and he writes Leadership Gold. I've heard a saying, which I really want to tap into as I speak to you today, that a wise man learns from his or her own mistakes. A wiser person learns from the mistakes of others, but the wisest person of all learns from the successes of others. This being one of the hallmarks that I have embraced from the John Maxwell teaching is that when somebody is doing something well, position yourself as a learning person to go and glean from that person. I've been to Sydney, Australia to see how Hillsong is run because I shepherd a local church. I've been to Willow Creek, Chicago when Bill Hybels was at the helm, learning how Willow Creek was doing church. I've been to Bogota, Colombia, Cesar Castellanos, one of the biggest churches in Latin America. I've been to Singapore, City Harvest, Kong Hee, running an amazing church there. And I've even been to Uedo Full Gospel Church in Korea, Dr. Yongki Chow, because it's critical that we learn from the successes of others. Today, we'll be mining gold nuggets from Leadership Gold. And there are 26 chapters in the course. When I teach it to CEOs or MDs or people who give leadership to other people, we will teach the entire 26 chapters. But for this webinar, I will only be covering just 4 of the 26 chapters. The first chapter I'd like to bring to you as a learning today is, if you're lonely at the top, you must be doing something wrong. I came from the school, and the generations behind me, or ahead of me I should say, they also believed that the best way to lead is by keeping a chasm, a distance between you and those that you lead. Be it a staff in a company, be it a staff in a church, be it the workers in a business, keep your distance. That's what we were encouraged to do. Because if you keep your distance, you minimize the potentiality of being hurt by these people. But as you journey in life, you realize you cannot keep a distance with people consistently and be able to influence them. or be able to lead them or be able to guide or nurture them. Likewise, it's a double-edged sword. If you don't get connected to people, there'll be things that are going wrong in your business, in your home, in your company, in your organization, and you would not have any idea what is going wrong. How then do you find this radical middle? How do you find this balance of leading in such a way that even though you're at the top, you will not be lonely? I think the first thing, and this is in the John Maxwell teaching, Leadership Gold, the first thing is that shift your mindset, shift your paradigm from positional leadership. Positional leadership means I use my position of authority to exert an influence, to get you to do stuff, to get you to buy into the vision. That is cold. And when you lead from the position, from the place of position, you often demean or undermine rather than build up and strengthen those that you lead. In actual fact, most people have said, if you get too close to people, you're going to get hurt. I look at Jesus, for example. He had not a positional mindset of leadership, but a relational mindset. If you want to lead people, you got to love people. People are not interested in how much you know until they know how much you care. If you care, they listen to you. How then do we gravitate to the place where we can find this balance? I believe we've got to invest in relationship. The second thing is that we must also be conscious of how we process success and failure. If we process success as I am successful and forget the people that brought you to that place of success, you can end up disconnecting from the very people that got you there. And if you retrieve, on the other hand, because of failure, you could go into a mindset or a hedgehog mentality where you disconnect from people. But when we are in a place where we understand success is not because of us, but because of those that helped us and come around and builded us, I like what John Maxwell says. He says in this powerful teaching, and I'd like to read it to you. It says that one is too small a number to achieve success. One is too small a number to achieve success. He writes that in a powerful book on 17 indispensable laws of teamwork. And I like to quote the African proverb at this point. You want to go fast, go alone. You want to go far, take others with you. If you don't want to be lonely and you're at the top, the third thing I'd love you to consider is shifting your understanding of effective life from success to significance. When you shift from success to significance, you value and appreciate when something is done successfully. But you also realize that if you add value to people and you appreciate them and you give them a sense of purpose, they understand that they're on the earth with a significant reason to add value, to build, to empower, to bring to a place where the community grows. That is crucial. The second chapter in Leadership Gold, it's a powerful one. It simply says, and I'd love to do, the toughest person to lead is yourself. The toughest person to lead is yourself. One of my mentors, Michael Cassidy, often says, if you want me to follow you, who's leading you? The greatest challenge is for us to lead ourselves. When we feel that we've got it all together, we find ourselves in a place where we will set ourselves up for failure. I believe the best way to lead yourself is to start with self-discipline. Self-discipline is not an option. It should become a way of life. I like what the definition of self-discipline in Leadership Gold teaches. It teaches that self-discipline is giving ourselves a command and following it through. Self-discipline. You can never take a break from self-discipline. If I could just share briefly with you, I was serving on a board and it was a promising young man. He was articulate. He had a well-rounded theology. He was in line to lead one of the biggest churches that I know here in South Africa. And because he took his eye off the whole thing of self-discipline, he lost it all. I remember one of the key leaders saying, if he recovers in 10 years, that would be a miracle. To lead ourselves, that means we got to be open, first and foremost, to fulfill what the Bible teaches, that self-control, self-discipline, it's critical. The second thing about leading yourself is choosing to be accountable. Accountability is a choice. This is very difficult for people who are the founders of businesses, founders of organizations, founders of churches, because you are the foundation stone. We know everything is built on Jesus if you're a Christian, but you are the foundation stone of this organization, business, or family that starts. And if you don't choose to be accountable to somebody, then you set yourself up for failure. The reason why most people fail is because we always think it would never happen to me. It would never happen to you. John Maxwell teaches that we should never trust ourselves. In other words, we're all one decision away from being absolutely foolish. I like what it teaches about accountability, is that you got to find people who are not obligated to you organizationally. If somebody's in your organization, they're always going to agree with you. A colleague or friend would not want to disappoint you and point out the blind spots or challenge you about the areas where you are rough, or areas where you are not being fair, or you are not being well-grounded. But if you choose a mentor, somebody who can ask you the tough questions about how's it going with your wife, how's it going with your family, how's it going with your finances, how are you relating and shepherding and stewarding the staff, if it's a business, if it's an organization, the people that work with you, or if it's a church, the leaders who volunteer to support you in leading that congregation. The toughest person to lead is yourself. And I would like you to think clearly through this quote by Thomas Watson. Thomas Watson said, "Nothing so conclusively proves a man's ability to lead others as what he does from day to day by leading himself." The necessity for us to every day, not some days, but every day, focus on self-discipline and on accountability. The third chapter, powerful chapter, it's defining moments define your leadership. Right now, we are in lockdown. COVID-19 virus has run havoc and has created a world pandemic. When I look at South Africa and I look at the United States, these opportunities that came right now to countries were defining moments for the leadership of presidents, where I respect President Ramaphosa. He took a firm stance. He took a quick stance, which has really flattened the curve of the spread of the coronavirus in South Africa. Whereas in the United States, Donald Trump, unfortunately, it's a federal system. There was tension, there was disunity. And even the delay of bringing the whole of the United States to complete lockdown has brought a question mark over his leadership. Whereas when people were doubtful about Cyril Ramaphosa, our president, now there's a greater confidence because of the manner in which he executed leadership. When we're talking about defining moments, define your leadership, there comes a time in the life of every leader to be able to understand the context, look at your past failures, taking a stand on an issue, willing to choose to suffer. Like the president has put us in a place of suffering, but that's because he values life, he values souls. He didn't place business and the economy over the value of human life. It was a defining moment. You and I will always come to the place of a defining moment will define our leadership. Winston Churchill stepped in when the Allied countries were on the back foot, and he made one of the shortest speeches in the House of Commons. Never give up, never give up, never give up. Somewhere else I read that Winston Churchill said, "Give me the tools and I'll do the job." You know, when the Allied countries defeated Germany and Hitler, in the next election, Winston Churchill lost the elections to be prime minister for the second time around. His leadership was suitable for that moment in time. But after that, it was not. Defining moments define our leadership. When we as a local church heard that the president had indicated that we should cut down on the numbers, we went online immediately. It was a defining moment for us. We could have gone online and we could have said, no, you still need to come to church. And like, how many pastors have been arrested? How many people have not taken a defining moment to make a decisive decision? I think of the church in Korea that caused so many people to be infected. The church in France caused so many people to be infected. I'm glad the president of our nation executed defining moments, defined his leadership. How then is it important for us when we make those decisions that we open for feedback? We are open for constructive criticism. We cannot lead effectively if we don't position ourselves to be in a place where people can even challenge the way we make decisions, the way we lead. Whenever anybody feeds us with some kind of feedback or constructive criticism, we should ask ourselves, or we should consider these 4 things. 1, don't be defensive. Number 2, look for the grain of truth in what is being said. Thirdly, make the necessary changes required if you know what they're saying is truthful and would make you lead better or bring new life to that church, to that business, to that family, or to that organization. And fourthly, take the high road. Take the high road has always been a challenge. Take the high road simply means doing the right thing, even if it's not easy and often unpopular. Take the high road. When people criticize us, sometimes we are not quite sure how to respond. Apart from those 4 things that I've just said to you, what else should we consider? Because if you're going to make a decision that's going to define your leadership, and you have people around you that may think contrary to how you think, or they may view things differently to you, I believe you should ask, who is it that's criticizing me? I'd rather have a wise person be my critic than a fool agree with me. I think over and above that, how is this criticism given? If the criticism is given in a harsh, judgmental tone, then obviously I'm not going to open myself up for unjust punishment. But if the criticism is given in a manner that intends to build me up, to strengthen me, I should listen. The third thing I think is critical when it comes to criticism is that where is this person? Where are they positioned emotionally, spiritually, when they're giving this criticism? If they're a hurt person, they may only be venting, they may only be transferring, they may only be associating their hurt with me. And hurting people hurt people. Number 1, if you're lonely at the top, you're doing something wrong. Number 2, the toughest person to lead is yourself. Number 3, defining moments define our leadership. And our 4th and last chapter that I want to leave you with this webinar is never work a day in your life. What? How can you say that, Greg? Aren't we encouraged that if you cannot work, you cannot eat, the good book says? Yes, but I believe that if you're pursuing your passion, you will never work a day in your life. Well, in actual fact, I like to read this powerful quotation to you that I believe will really just give you an eye-opener of what I'm talking about. A master in the art of living draws no sharp distinction between his work and his play, his labor and his leisure, his mind and his body, his education and his recreation. He hardly knows which is which. He simply pursues his vision of excellence through whatever he is doing and leaves others to determine whether he's working or playing. To himself, he always appears to be doing both. What does Maxwell mean when he's in Leadership Gold says, never work a day in your life? A story is told, a study was done. Over a 10-year period, I think, there were 1,500 Harvard graduates, all graduating from the business school of Harvard. And a study was done on people whose primary goal was to make money. I can't remember what percentage of that 1,500, but the one group were concentrating on they wanted to make money so that they can do what they want to do. The other part saw business as their passion. After 10 years, they went back, did an analysis of both groups of people, and they found out that the people who were passionate about business were so much more successful than those who were just doing it to get money. Whatever your passion is, pursue it, chase after it. And when you are fulfilling your passion, people will see that what you're doing is you're so good at what you're doing, and they'll be willing to pay you for it. In actual fact, Jack Welch, the founder of General Electric, he says the world will belong to passionate, driven leaders. People who not only have energy, but people themselves who can energize those that work with them. He says, leadership is influence. Leadership is influence. Passion is key. I don't mean passion, blind passion. The Bible actually speaks about zeal without knowledge is destructive. We're not talking about blind passion, but we're talking about understanding your purpose, pursuing your purpose with a passion, and in pursuing your purpose with a passion, others would see what you're doing, want you to do for them what you're doing for yourself, and pay you for it. I think of all the great soccer players in the world. Messi was my favorite, or one of the Liverpool players, Van Dijk. They're enjoying playing the game. It's their passion, and they're earning a living to do it. Man, isn't that amazing? Never work a day in your life. If you've enjoyed this webinar, and I chose rather to pre-record it because we're under lockdown, and it's so difficult to be assured that the network would be strong enough, and I wanted it to be loud and clear. I will jump on after this webinar to engage with you in a Facebook Live, so you could ask questions about these 4 key areas that we tackled in this webinar. Number 1, if you're lonely at the top, you must be doing something wrong. Number 2, the hardest person to lead is yourself. Number 3, defining moments define your leadership. And number 4, passion, never work a day in your life. If you want to grow, I believe you need to be in a growth environment. As a leadership consultant, as a John Maxwell speaker and coach, I offer a number of courses, and these can help you. I've just spoken about Leadership Gold. It's an 8 weeks course, and it has 8 sessions, 2 hours. And let me tell you, it is incredible. The second course that I'm currently working with an organization in the Midlands at the moment is the 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth. It's also 8 sessions, 2 hours a week. And the third course that I'm currently running is called Everyone Communicates, A Few Connect. It's 6 sessions, 2 hours each. If you want to learn more about these courses, I'm going to be offering them virtually online. But I also believe if we have the opportunity to have face-to-face when the lockdown is over, we can iron sharpen iron. We can strengthen one another, encourage one another. My question is, are you in a growth environment? Do you have a growth plan? Are you intentional about coming into who you are? I like this John Maxwell expression. He says, God's gift to us is potential. Our gift to God is maximizing that potential. Thank you. And in the coming days, I'll be sending more details on my Greg Smerdon Consulting page. Please feel free to share this with others. Pardon my mini afro. I've been under lockdown and haven't seen my barber for 3 weeks. See you soon. Look out and watch the space.